Would you like to be able to share bite-sized audio from your podcast or your favorite podcasts? Hi, I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the Audacity to Podcast.com, and I'm here at NAB with David from Clammr. And David, tell me what Clammr is.
Hey, Daniel, great to be with you. Clammr is a bite-sized audio platform. We observed in the world the rise of bite-sized content in all formats. In text, you see it with Twitter. In images, you see it with Instagram. In video, you see it with Vine. But in audio, there was no solution. And we saw that as a gap that needed to be addressed. We're audio enthusiasts. We listen to audiobooks, podcasts, music. I was a musician before I went to law school 20 years ago. Not quite 20 years ago. That was a little bit of an exaggeration, but in a previous life. And we thought that that problem needed to be solved. And since no one else was solving it, we decided to solve it.
So how does this work then for either the podcaster or the podcast listener?
So for a podcaster, he can extract highlights from his podcast in 18 seconds or less, put them into the Clammr stream, and allow users to discover in a very easy way his podcast. He can also create a custom tease telling audio enthusiasts on Clammr what this particular podcast episode is about, and allow listeners to hear that tease and then with one click of the largest button on the screen access the full podcast. Even better than that, podcasters can use their two best assets, which is their content and their listeners, to increase the virality of their own content. And so what I mean by that is this specifically. They can empower their own users to create highlights of their podcast and share it within Clammr.
Can you show me how this works?
Absolutely. So here's what the Clammr home screen looks like. Each of these tiles represents a channel, which is an aggregation of user accounts. Any listener can define his own channels based on the users that he wants to follow in the organizational method that he likes. We make it really easy and give you default channels. The editor sort of has created default channels. So for example, there's a tech news one that includes summaries from a bunch of the leading tech publications. But you can define your own channels. In order to create a clip, a podcaster can do this within the app, which I'll show you right now, or on our web portal. And we make it really as easy as possible to extract the right moments or just create a custom lead. So, for example, you hit that record button, and now a podcaster could simply do this. Go to their library, go through to their podcast, pull in a podcast, like here's a podcast from Grammar Girl. It populates, this pop-up just says, let's pull in the metadata so it'll link back to the full episode. And now the clip is populated right there. You can then click, just drag to find the right moment within the podcast that you want to highlight. It can be 18 seconds or less, so you can shorten it up. You can even then add a second track, we do multi-tracking, and do a little intro. So you use that screen, you record a little custom intro. When you're done with that, you line that track up at the beginning, you line the highlight up right after it, drag them so that they meet at the same moment, go to the post screen, the metadata was already populated with the episode information. You can simultaneously send it out to Twitter and Facebook with the highlight, and we post. So now this clip is available, and what a listener will see who follows me is this. Then with one click, a user who likes that clip can pop open the entire episode. It's that easy.
Wow, so some of the examples of uses for this is if I'm listening to a podcast and instead of trying to write down the quotation of, oh, this was really good, I could just actually say, I tried this and it works, and then include that quotation from that podcast. Or I could include a snippet from my own podcast. I see a lot of potential for this. I like what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Daniel. That means a lot to us. We're really excited based on what we've seen while we've been in stealth mode for the last several months. about what this can do for the two main problems that we see in audio. We see an amazing amount of incredible audio being created out there, and that's only increasing. But audio has a discovery problem and a shareability problem. And at Clammr, those are the two things that we're trying to address.
I know podcast audio is very different from stuff like video or quotation, because podcast audio is typically long form, like a TV show, but you do still see people sharing those short moments from a TV show. Like Tumblr is full of animated GIFs or GIFs, if you prefer. And this is basically doing that for podcast content, which is long form, but making it shareable in short form audio. And I could see a lot of potential for this, for making your podcast more consumable, making those little teasers for your podcast. What about for the podcaster who wants to see how their content is being shared? If they're not the one sharing it, and they may not know their audience is sharing that, how can they find out if their content's being shared?
It's actually fairly easy to do today, and it's only going to get easier. But today, what you can simply do is go to the Explore tab. At the top of the Explore tab, there's a search bar, and you can simply search for any term that would be included in your podcast. So when we populate that metadata, if one of your fans has pulled in the information from one of your podcasts, the metadata that's going to populate is going to include a hashtag with the name of your podcast. So simply by searching for that hashtag name, unless the user took the step of deleting it, which we're not seeing happening, it's going to show up in a stream. And so you will be able to pull in a stream of hashtag the Audacity to podcast, and that will be everything that anyone clipped from any of your podcasts. And that's available today. It's available not only in the app, but we make that available as a widget. So you could actually put that on your own website, on your own Tumblr page, and allow anyone to see the highlights that are being made of your content.
That's awesome. So it's like bringing in the Twitter stream, but of your audio content in little snippets and what people find resonating with them the most. There are many times when I've been listening to a podcast and thought, oh, this is good, I want to link to this, but it's an issue to have to say, oh, listen to an hour in, find this little clip, or this is a quotation, I have to try and type it out. This makes it much easier. Tell me, how can people get this app, and where is it available?
Thanks for asking, Daniel. This app is available on iPhone and iPad today in the Apple Store. We just released the password wall, and it's completely public now. It's 100% free and will be forever as far as we're concerned. We are working on a web-based version that will allow people on other platforms like Android and Windows, and that should be available in the next couple of months. And we plan to do an Android version at some point this year. So, it's easiest to develop for iPhone. We focused our resources on that platform first, but all platforms to come.
Awesome. So that's Clammr without an E, and for savings. We're running out of E's on the internet.
Right.
But check it out. I highly recommend it. David, thank you very much for being here and for demonstrating this great project. And I suggest that you check it out. Clammr, the links are below this video. I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the audacitypodcast.com. Thanks for watching. This video and my others from New Media Expo and NAB Show were made possible with some great help. Thanks to Neil Christensen from emailsplat.com for being my camera guy. Thanks to Melvin Rivera from Combio180.com for loaning me the microphone and recorder during the event. And thanks to John Buchanan from AudioEditingSolutions.com for editing these videos together for me. And thank you for sharing and watching this video. Check out all of the other videos from New Media Expo and NAB Show at theaudacitypodcast.com.